What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my November 30th NCAA Tournament Bracketology. Joe already came with a new one, so let's dive into it. A little bit a day late, but we're just going to say that it was today. Not a ton of upsets, I do believe, yesterday. But let's look at the bracket watch. Top overall seed right now is Houston. The first team out sits with UAB. Kind of a weird face that guy's making right there. Kind of did him dirty putting that right there. And then last team in, we have NC State. So that is the bracket watch. Let's look at the bubble right now. Last four buys are TCU, Kansas State, Michigan, and Penn State. Last four in, Arizona State, LSU, Ole Miss, and then NC State. The first four out, we got UAB, Oklahoma State, Utah State, and Texas A&M. Then the next four out, Rutgers, Florida, Seton Hall, and Marquette. So anyway, let's look at the bracket with some teams new to the field. Texas A&M CC is new to the field as a 16 in the playing game. Arizona State drops down to 11 in the playing game against LSU, who's new to the field. SIU Edwardsville is new to the field. And then Ole Miss and NC State new to the field. The 11 seeds battling it out for a spot in the round of 64. So let's look at the whole tournament, the whole bracket. Starting with number one, we have the Houston Cougars, not a surprise. Oklahoma is new to the field at 8. We have San Diego State dropping down to 5. UC Irving new to the field at 13. We have Maryland jumping up to a 6 seed. Gonzaga's dropping down to a 3 after their loss to Purdue, I believe. Mississippi State jumps up to a 7 seed, and then Virginia Tech drops down to a 10. Then Norfolk State is going to jump up to a 15. Down over here in the South region, we have Texas at the 1 seed down there. UNC Asheville, new to the field at 16. We have St. John's jumping up to an 8. 9 is Memphis dropping down. Duke drops down to a 4. Yale's going to jump up to a 13. We have Iowa dropping down to a 6. St. Louis is going to be dropping down to an 11. Tennessee is going to be jumping up to a 3 after their win over the defending champs Kansas. Iona is going to be dropping down to a 14. Texas Tech drops down to a 7. Michigan drops down to a 10. Purdue, as I said, after they beat Gonzaga, jumping up to a 2 seed. And then Colgate dropping down to a 15. In the West region, we have Arizona jumping up to a 1 seed, taking advantage of some of these other 1 seeds struggling. Montana State dropping down to a 16. St. Mary's dropping down to an 8. Iowa State's going to be new to the field at a 9. We have North Carolina. They've been struggling mightily as of late, lost 2 games this month, I believe. They're dropping down to a 5. Sam Houston's going to be new to the field at a 12. Arkansas is going to be dropping down to a 4. Then we have Michigan State dropping down to a 6. Kansas, the defending champs, as I said, lost to Tennessee earlier, dropping down to a 3 seed. We have Wisconsin jumping up to a 7. Then Kansas State new to the field at a 10. And then UConn jumping up to a 2. And then Bryant new to the field at a 15. Let's go to the East region here. Virginia is going to be jumping up to a 1 seed. We have West Virginia jumping up to an 8. Xavier dropping down to a 9. Kent State's going to be new to the field at a 12 seed. We have Alabama jumping up to a 4. Furman going to be dropping down to a 13. Kentucky's struggles continue. They drop down to a 6. We have Indiana dropping down to a 3, the team I picked to win the championship last time. And then we have Creighton jumping up to a 2 seed. And then Wright State new to the field at a 15. So anyway, let's look at the bracket. Starting out with the first 4 games, we're going to start out with Arizona State against LSU. I do think Arizona State is going to come out on top in this one. And then Texas A&M CC versus Southern. I am going to pick Southern in that one. Oops, did not mean to do that. Ole Miss against NC State. I am going to pick Ole Miss right there to pull off the win, although that's a good game. And then I do think SIU Edwardsville, however you pronounce that, can beat Wagner. So anyway, let's look at the bracket. For a spot in the round of 32, we have Houston Southern. I have Houston winning that game. And then the 8 versus the 9 matchup between Oklahoma and Miami. Tight matchup here. I am going to go with, let's go with Miami. That would be a great, two good football programs all time. But this is basketball. Oklahoma always seems to be hanging around that 8 spot every year. But let's go down here. San Diego State, I do think, can beat Drake. Did spell Illinois wrong, I believe. Let me actually fix that. Or is it right? No, I forgot an N. Sorry, guys. That bugs me whenever I do that wrong. I do think that's right now. Okay, Illinois, I do think could beat UC Irvine. Maryland against Arizona State, I am going to go with Maryland. Gonzaga, I do think could beat Oral Roberts, so really all chalk so far. I do think Mississippi State could beat Virginia Tech, and then Baylor, I think, could beat Norfolk State. So a lot of chalk on that region, but that's okay. Let's go down here. We have Virginia against SIU Edwardsville. I do think Virginia can win that one. I am going to go with Xavier to pull off the 9/8 upset over West Virginia. UCLA, I do think could beat Kent State. I'm going to go with a 13/4 upset here. I'm going to go with Alabama, Furman to pull off the upset over the number 4 seed Alabama. Furman. This team's always been hanging around in the playoff picture, for the past couple of years. I think this team's a good program, that they have put together a good program over the past few years. I do think I'm not a big fan of Alabama. I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to go with Furman to pull off a big upset to advance on to play UCLA in the next round. Going down here, we have Kentucky against Penn State. I do think that Kentucky can withstand Penn State there. And then I am going to go with Indiana over Liberty. Ohio State against TCU. I'm going to go with Ohio State in that game. And then Creighton, I do think could beat Wright State. So a lot of chalk other than one big upset right there. Let's go over here. We have Texas, I do think could beat UNC Asheville. Memphis, I think, can pull off the upset over St. John's. I do think Auburn can beat Tucson. Duke, I do think, could beat Yale. Iowa against St. Louis. I'm going to go with a 11/6 upset here. I am going to go with St. Louis pulling off the big win here. Ask me why. Well, I'm not sure, but St. Louis is a good team here, and I don't really like Iowa after what they did last year in my bracket, losing in the first round, and I had them in the Final Four. So anyway, let's go St. Louis there. Tennessee, I do think it'd be Iona. Texas Tech against Michigan. Michigan has struggled as of late, but I do think that they can beat Michigan. Then Purdue, I do think beat Colgate. All right, let's go over here. Arizona, I do think it beat Montana State. I'm going to go with the Iowa State win over St. Mary's right there. And then North Carolina gets Sam Houston. Do I go with at least one 12/5 upset? Sam Houston, new to the field at 12. I'm going to do it. North Carolina has looked very beatable as of late. I'm just not a big fan of what they're doing right now. They got a lot of talent, but I'm going to go Sam Houston to pull off a big upset over North Carolina. Arkansas, I do think it beat James Madison right there. I don't think Ole Miss is going to have enough to beat Michigan State. I'm going to go with Michigan State. Kansas, I do think it beat Middle Tennessee. I am going to go with a 10/7 upset here. I'm going to go with Kansas State over Wisconsin. And UConn, I do think, could beat Bryant. So let's go to the backup here. We have Houston against Miami. I do think that the 1 seed can advance. Here we go. San Diego State against Illinois. I am going to go with, never mind. I'm going to go with Illinois there. I think they're the better team. So the 4 seed advances. Gonzaga against Maryland. I'm going to go with Gonzaga. Don't see an upset there. And then Mississippi State against Baylor. Baylor lost, I do believe. I believe pretty soon. Wait, let me check. Yeah, they just lost to Marquette. Actually, yesterday. So that was one of the big upsets. But I'm going to take Mississippi State. Why not go with a 7-2 upset over Baylor? Baylor, never mind. Actually, I think Baylor can figure things out. We saw what happened to them last year, got eliminated early. I do think that their coach can bring them to a victory. That they're the champions 2 years ago. So I'm going to go with Baylor, actually, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Virginia against Xavier. I'm going to go with Virginia right there. No upset. Do we continue the Furman Cinderella story? I don't think so. I do think UCLA will beat them. UCLA is a good program there. Kentucky against Indiana. Kentucky has struggled, but they got a lot of talent. I'm going to go with Kentucky. I know I picked Indiana to win the championship last game, but they didn't look good in their last loss. So I'm going to go with Kentucky in this one to pull off a big win. Creighton against Ohio State. I am going to go with Creighton right there to advance. Let's go over here. We have Texas against Memphis. I'm going to take Texas in this game. Duke against Auburn. I'm going to go with a 5/4 upset here. I'm going to go with Auburn. Duke, not a big fan of. Tennessee, I do think can beat St. Louis. And then Purdue, I do think can beat Michigan right there. Let's go down here. We have Arizona. I think can pull off the win over Iowa State. And then Sam Houston, I think, can advance on past Arkansas, pull off a big upset over the Razorbacks. I always love to have at least one team into the Sweet 16. That's a double-digit seed, and Sam Houston, I think, can be that one team right there. I think that they could pull off a big win. Let's go down here. We have Michigan State against Kansas. Kansas, you know what? I'm going to pick Kansas. Just such a story program. No, never mind. I'm going to go with Michigan State. Why not? Michigan State pulls off a 6/3 upset in this chaos region right there for a big win. And then Kansas State versus UConn. Guys, I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling this one. So you just got to go gut this early on in the year with these upsets. It's all for fun. Let's go with Kansas State over Connecticut. UConn, I don't know, man. I just don't have a good feeling about them, and that's just really how you got to approach some of these brackets right now. You just look at UConn. I don't really feel good about them right now. So I'm going to go with Kansas State right there to pull off the victory. Let's go over here to this region. Houston versus Illinois. I do think Houston can win that game, the number 1 overall seed. And then Gonzaga, the rematch of the championship a couple years ago. I am going to go with Gonzaga to get their revenge and advance on. Let's go down here. Virginia against UCLA. I'm going to go with the 5/1 upset here. Bring UCLA into the Elite Eight. Why not? Virginia's a good team, but UCLA I think is underrated right now. I think they can pull off a win. Kentucky against Creighton. I'm going to go with Creighton in that game. Creighton's been an impressive team through the first few weeks of college basketball. Let's go over here. Texas against Auburn. I am going to pick the number 1 seed, Texas, to advance. And then Purdue against Tennessee. Two teams who had big weeks. That's tough. I'm going to go with Tennessee in that game. Big Ten's just struggled in March Madness. It's proven. I think Tennessee can pull off a win. Going down here, we have Arizona against Sam Houston. Does Sam Houston pull off a big upset? I don't think so. I'm going to take Arizona right there to end the Cinderella story. Michigan State against Kansas State. We have a 6 versus a 10. I'm going to go with Kansas State. Why not? Kansas State, the 10th seed, goes on to the Elite Eight, pulling off a string of upsets to get here. What a big win for them. All right, let's go to the Elite Eight for a spot in the Final Four. Houston versus Gonzaga. I'm going to go with Gonzaga. The 3 seed pulls off an upset over the number 1 seed, Houston. I know Gonzaga lost their last game, but I do think their coach can get them ready for this one. Houston, they are the best team in the league for a reason, or the number one seed for a reason, but I think they're going to fall short against Gonzaga if they were matched up right there. Let's do it here. UCLA against Creighton. Let's go with the 2 seed Creighton. I do like Creighton as a program, so I'm going to go with Creighton there to win that one to advance on. Texas against Tennessee. Ooh, that's tough. I'm going to go with the 3 seed Tennessee. Going into the championship game, pulling up an upset over Texas. So we now have 2 3 seeds in the Final Four. Let's go over here. Arizona, Kansas State. Give me Arizona. I got to have at least one seed in the Final Four. I was debating, keeping the Cinderella story going for Kansas State, but you got to have at least 1 seed in the Final Four there, and I do think that would be Arizona. Let's go to the Final Four here. Gonzaga battles it out versus Creighton. I am going to take Gonzaga. The Zags advance. It's been a frustrating few years for the Gonzaga Bulldogs in the March Madness, so I do think that they can come out on top of a Creighton there and advance. And then Tennessee versus Arizona. I'm going to go with the 3 seed Tennessee. I just think Arizona had a very easy path to the Final Four here with Iowa State, Sam Houston, and Kansas State, as well as Montana State. Don't forget about them. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely the best team that they're going to play here, and I think they're going to be exposed. I'm not sold on Arizona as a team right now. All right, so who's going to win the national championship, Tennessee or Gonzaga? I'm going to go with Tennessee. Tennessee wins the national championship game, and Gonzaga's woes continue. They're Tennessee, I believe in right now. They're a good team in the SEC, and I do think they're going to be national champions, at least in this scenario. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below. Your March Madness prediction is a little bit of a crazy one this time. But anyway, peace